We are online. So, Daryl, your question is unclear because I don't know where the brackets are. All right, so by my clock, it is 4 o'clock. So I am going to just go ahead and introduce, first of all, Barb. I think everybody should probably know Barb, but Barb, if you want to introduce yourself and the IMC.
Hi, everybody. I'm Barb Eagles.
Oh, unmute first.
Pardon? Unmute first. Okay. Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. I'm Barb Eagles, and I work at the IMC.
So hopefully everybody's here for the same reason. We're here to talk about places where you can go not to get into trouble, and we're not going to talk about those things that are going to get you in trouble so much tonight as things that are going to keep you out of trouble. So what types of resources can I find that I can legitimately use in my classroom without breaking the law, but still give my students some really good quality materials to work with? And so we're going to look at a few of those tonight, but before we get going, I want to just begin with a little bit of a definition in terms of the Creative Commons license. This is just a quote from the Creative Commons site. Creative Commons develops, supports, and stewards legal and technical infrastructure that maximizes digital creativity, sharing, and innovation. Now that's a mouthful, but in a nutshell, what Creative Commons is it is a legal document that allows people that actually want you to take their content and use their content and reshare their content, and gives them a simple way of communicating that that license. So the Creative Commons actually has 5 different icons, and you'll see these icons all across the web in terms of what is allowed and what's not allowed online. So the first one here is Creative Commons license, and that is the minimum. For it to be covered by Creative Commons, it needs to at least have the CC emblem embedded on it. The other one you'll see very commonly is the attribution, and what that means is that you're allowed to use the image or the video or the piece of content, but you just need to say where you've got it from. The third one, and this does apply to education, is if you're using content for non-commercial purposes, and education is definitely non-commercial, you're free to use that. But if you want to use this for a business, or you want to sell it, or you want to use it to create content you're going to market, then you're not allowed to use that image. The equals means no derivatives. What that means is that if I take an image and I see that equal sign and I want to change that image, so it's an image of a person, I want to put a red nose on the end of it, that symbol means I'm not allowed to do that. I have to use that image as is. I can't crop it. I can't edit it. I have to use it the way I found it as it's come online. The last one, and this is sometimes referred to as a copyleft. You can see it's a C turned backwards. It is almost the polar opposite of a copyright. When you see that emblem, it means that you're allowed to use the material. However, what you are not allowed to do is to change the license. So if you have pulled down an image that's licensed under attribution, non-commercial use, and no derivatives, then when you share your new work that you use based on that, it has to be based, or it has to be shared out as an attribution, non-commercial, no derivatives license. Barb, did you want to say anything else about these images or these icons before we move on? Okay. So this little link here, by the way, I know you're watching this in a video, so you won't be able to necessarily click on this link, but if you just type bit.ly/cctune, it'll take you to a YouTube video that does a great job of sort of going through this license and all of these different pieces and the purpose and power of each. So the bigger question, and this is the piece that I want to spend the bulk of tonight on, is how do we actually get this content? How do we find content that we know is Creative Commons licensed? I don't want to just go through all the different websites out there and look for that logo or any of those logos just to have a sense of what the license is. So what I'm going to do instead, and this is the absolute easiest way to do this, is if I go to search.creativecommons.org, and I'll do that right now. There we go. And so I'll just pop into a browser window, and if I go to search.creativecommons.org, what you'll notice is that it is actually what's called a meta search engine. So if you look at the top, or look at these little buttons, there are a number of other sites that Creative Commons searches for you, and that includes Europedia for media, Flickr, which is one of my favorite for images, Open Clip Art, Jamendo for music, CC Mixter, which I'll talk about in a moment, but is a wonderful place to go for audio, sounds, and other music. And it actually helps you to find content that you can, for example, use for commercial purposes. I don't really need that, so I'm going to uncheck that. Or if you want to have something you are allowed to crop or change, I might check that one. So for example, if I wanted to have an image for my website of a coffee cup, I might choose Flickr as a place to search, and momentarily it will give me a number of coffee cup images which the photographer has intentionally posted online under the Creative Commons license. So let's say this is the image I like, and it's a very nice color image, very well set up, of a coffee cup, and I want to use that for my website. So my next step is now to click on this, and it does give me a larger version of that, but if I scroll down, you'll see, first of all, who the person that posted it. So this is the photographer, Mars. And I would need to give him reference at least, because I can see there's an attribution license on this image. I also see that there's a non-commercial icon on this. So whatever I create using that image, I can't charge money for. And I see that there is a share-alike image on there, which means that whatever I do, whatever I create, needs to be licensed under attribution, non-commercial, and share-alike. If I'm not sure, I can click this not some rights reserved, and it does do a great job of explaining how that comes together. For interest's sake, it does tell me what kind of camera he used and his f-stop and so on and so forth. But I've decided this is the image I'd really like to use. So what I'm going to do is just on the bottom right-hand side, there's a download button. And if I press that download button, it gives me a choice of what sizes I'd like to do. So it actually does give me the option to resize that image. So if I want the good quality, full size, straight from the camera image, I can just click on original, and right away that image downloads, and I'm free to use that for whatever I want, so long as I give Mars S credit, and so long as I don't charge money for it or change the license. So going back to that site, you can see that there are a number of other pieces in there, including Google images. So why don't I do a Google image search and see what comes up for coffee cup. So again, I've got the typical Google image window pop up. I have a number of coffee cups that have appeared. But you'll notice that on this page, this search tools button has been clicked on. And there's my my choices I had on Creative Commons. So I've asked for things that are labeled for non-commercial reuse with modification. So any of these images have been identified on their website as Creative Commons licensed. And so I can just go ahead and click any one of them. And again, it gives me an idea of who created it. It's on Pixabay by T. Brown. And again, if I just go visit page, I can find out what my licenses are. So right off the bat, you can see some of these have this watermark that says Shutterstock. So I suspect that most of those are ones that aren't released for free. But if I go to any of these ones, including the one I had clicked on earlier, you'll see there's a link here that says license CC0 public domain. It says free for commercial use, no attribution required. So this one is an actual public domain image I can use. I don't even need to say where I got it. And so that one is a great image to use. And Pixabay is a great place to go for those images. So I'm going to pause just for a moment and just again invite you, if you haven't yet posted anything to the question box on the right-hand side, feel free to ask me any questions you have. If there's anything I've said that doesn't make sense, I'm more than happy to answer those questions. Again, if you watch the preview video, that question box actually is keyed to the recording. So when you come back later, if you want to see what I had said to a question you've asked, you can just click on that question, and the video of this presentation will jump back to where that was. All right. So that being the case, let's jump back to the presentation here, and I'm going to show you a couple of other tricks. I guess the first thing I should probably share with you is you don't necessarily need that tool when you're going to Google Images. So you can see here, I'm on images.google.com. It's just basically the same as Google search, but with images. And I'm sure many of you have used this tool before. I am going to talk a little bit about these icons that are on the far side. This one you may or may not know of, which is the search by voice. I can at any point just click on that, and say I want to search for coffee cup, and everything pops back up to do that. But the other one is that camera icon, and it is possible to actually take an image and use that as your search term, and I'll show you in a moment how that works. But the first thing I need to do is actually take a look at what I've got here and realize that when I'm looking at a typical Google image search, what I have is everything from commercial images, which people explicitly don't want me to copy, right down to that public domain image that I talked about earlier. One thing that can help you usually in a Google image search is just to click this button here that says Search Tools. And you'll see there's a couple of options I have. I can change what size I'm looking for. This one's kind of interesting. What color, what type of image, whether it's a JPEG or a PNG. How recently. I can even say I want an image that was posted in the last 24 hours. But you'll notice right here it says usage rights. And if I click that icon, it actually gives me a number of options as well. And so I don't need to go to search.creative commons. I can actually, on this page, look for images labeled for reuse with modification, labeled for reuse, labeled for non-commercial reuse with modification, and labeled for non-commercial reuse. So I'll go ahead and click non-commercial reuse with modification. And again, it brings me back to that same set of images that I had up here before. All right. So not seeing any questions yet, so that's good. If you have any questions, by all means post them and I would be happy to answer them. But let's go back to the presentation here for a moment. So we've talked a bit about the search.creativecommons.org website, which is by far the easiest way. We've also talked about the Google Advanced Search Tools, where once you've got an image search, and again, this only works on image.google.com, I can go ahead and just choose labeled for reuse under my search tools, and that will give me the same effect. But what if you were looking for something that was maybe an audio file that you wanted to include as a soundtrack to something you're creating? Well, what I can do is if I go back to my Google here, if I go to search.creativecommons.org, one of my favorite sites for looking for good quality music is CC Mixter. Now, CC Mixter is a tool that it's kind of a social network for musicians. So to give you a good example, imagine I took out my trumpet and I just played a melody on that trumpet. And I uploaded that melody to CC Mixter under an attribution license with derivatives allowed. Now, I can then, or somebody then can, for example, Barb, could download that and using a mixing program like Audacity or GarageBand, take my trumpet lick and play some piano over top of it. And she uploads that as a new mix. And so on and so forth until you actually have a full piece of music created by a number of musicians that are nowhere near each other. So with a music search, you do want to make your search terms something that references a style of music as opposed to, or a mood as opposed to a title. But maybe I might just do a drinking coffee. And it does come up with a few examples. And so you can see this Air CCM has posted. It's had 16 recommends, and I can even listen to it. I'm not sure how well this will show up on the feed, but I'll try.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard CC Mixter Flight 101. For your in-flight listening pleasure, we have the Cool Music Show, featuring the very best of this week's remixes. Enjoy.
So I won't go into great detail on that, but one of the best places on here to find audio tracks is in the remixes. That's where most of these recordings get posted once you have something solid that multiple people have put together. And just like any of these, when you click on the information for this, you will see the typical Creative Commons license there. In this case, it's got the attribution license, so I just need to make sure that I say who created this, and I'm welcome to use it for commercial purposes. I'm welcome to create derivatives. I'm even welcome to change the license. I just need to say where it came from. And so again, I can listen to that. It actually shows me not only a place where I can download the song itself, but I can post some other, or I can actually download other pieces of music as well. So I see, Cleona, you've asked a question, does this cover BrainPop? Anytime we're looking at a commercial site, typically each one of them has their own license. So for example, with BrainPop, most of those are pieces or pieces of media that we've paid for through our IRC contract. And so those have been licensed for performing in the classroom. In terms of extracting and putting that up on a public website, if it's in like a YouTube type format, or if it's in a media format, I would typically have to play that off of the BrainPop site and use it for educational purposes. If it's about extracting and pulling that music into a PowerPoint, you would have to check with your BrainPop license. I don't know if Barb, if you can add anything to that. Oh, you're muted still, Barb.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know anything about that for BrainPop, so that's something we'd have to look into.
Okay, so that would be listed on the BrainPop's website. Typically, there's an About button, and it'll tell you what you're allowed and not allowed to do. I can tell you that playing something in the classroom off of BrainPop, you're fine as long as it's a BrainPop account that has been paid for through our IRC contract. So if that doesn't make sense, or if that doesn't answer your question, Cleona, feel free to just post back into this comment box in a moment. So I've talked about some of the different pieces that you can pull off of the different websites. I want to talk a little bit about, and just give me a moment to switch back to my presentation here. We've already talked about some of the images that you can pull off of Google, but I want to talk a little bit about what to do if you have an image and you're not really sure where that image came from. So for example, let's say that in fact, let's see if we can find an image here. Earlier today, Barb and I were having a conversation about 3D printers. So maybe what I'll do is go back to my Google here, and I'm just going to do an image search for 3D printers. Now, here I am on a website. I can see that there's lots of images here that I can choose. So I can even go to the CNET article. And I can see that they definitely have a 3D printer here, creating an image of a baby from an ultrasound. Very, very cool. But let's say I want to know whether that image was put up there legitimately, and I'm assuming with CNET that it was, or if that image was copied. Now, there's a neat feature with Google Images that if I'm just going to go ahead and do a save as, and so I'm just going to save that to my desktop here. Let's try that again. Oh, they've actually locked out that image. That's a bad example. Here we go. Let's go to a Wikipedia article. And let's say that I want to know if this QRD bot image is legitimate. So I am going to just go ahead and download that. Now, what I can actually do, and I might have to switch my my zoom feature here so that you can see my whole desktop. If I now go to images.google.com and I see that camera icon, I can actually take this image I've downloaded and I can drag it right on top of here where it says drop image here. And what Google will do is it will look at that image. It'll say, okay, where did it come from? And now I can start to see there's actually two sites that that this is connected to. One is Wikipedia and one is What is 3D Printing. Now I'm guessing the 3D printing is the original, so I'm going to go there. And what I'm going to look for is some reference to say that that particular image or this site, for example, has a Creative Commons license. And I don't see that image anywhere. What I do see, though, is copyright 2005 by 3dprinting.com. That tells me that that image was actually put up there illegally. So this author hasn't figured that out yet or hasn't chosen to approach Wikipedia with it, but it did give me the ability to find that out. So looking at the clock, I know we are closing in on time, so I won't dwell on that for long. You can watch the recording after or ask me if you have any questions in terms of how that works. But one thing I would like to do is just to direct your attention to a couple of links. I've turned both of these links into just short URLs. So if you go to j.mp/legit2, this link right here, that will take you to this PowerPoint presentation. So you can go ahead and look at this, look at any of the links that are in there. And if you want to use it with your students or with colleagues, you're more than welcome to. I think on the front page, I actually have the CC icon, so you can see that this is basically free for use. There's also our FSD copyright page, and I assume for most of you, you will have run into this before, is the j.mp/FSD copy, and that is that document that says here's what's never okay, sometimes okay, and always okay, just to help simplify some of the content in terms of what is legitimate for copyright. But at the bottom of that page, there are a number of legal alternatives for content. And you can see that Learn Alberta is there. The Creative Commons search I just talked about is there. 7 Digital, it's actually a commercial service, but sometimes their audio files are downloaded in MP3 format. So if the license allows, and you have to deal with that on a license by license basis, it does make it easy to create new content, which you are allowed to do for educational purposes under copyright, so long as you don't have to break the DRM to do it. And so that's a source for that. Other pieces that are on that same website are excuse me, the publicdomainreview.org, which is a place where you can find public domain reviews of images, books, essays, audio recordings, and films. The Free Music Archive, which is another place where you can get public domain music similar to CC Mixter. SoundGator for different sounds and noises. If you're looking for some sound effects that you can use in plays or that kind of thing, it depends on your purpose. Morgue Files, a morbid file or morbid site name, but Morgue Files and Pixabay are other places where you can find Creative Commons licensed videos. And for clip art, a couple of my favorite sites. Open Clip Art is definitely the place I tend to go to first if I'm looking for a clip art image to put into a PowerPoint or equivalent place. And Clicker, which is another tool very similar where you can actually edit. Both sites will allow you to edit the clip art and download something original based on that edit. Now, before I go to the last slide, I am going to pass the floor back to Barb for a moment because she can talk to you a little bit about the services available on the IMC website, services we've paid for where you can actually get, it's commercial content, but it's commercial content that we own.
Okay, you should be able to see in a few minutes or a few seconds the IMC website, and I just want to show you on the website under our quick links on the left hand side all the resources that we have purchased through IRC and that are legitimate for using for Bill Nye or any of those other ones that you like so much. So there's Access Learning at the top, Criterion on Demand, Discovery Education, and Learn 360. Now you also can go into Learn Alberta and use anything on ORC, and we also have ORC listed down below as well. So those are ones that you can legitimately use any of the resources on them. The question is about embedding or putting the link somewhere else is something we'd have to talk to Doug about. So, and also there's World Book down below too, which provides access to the encyclopedias and also has some ebooks on there as well. So if you have any questions about anything like that, you can always phone or email me. And that's about all for now about that. So I'll turn it back to Doug.
Thanks, Barb. I'm noticing a question on the question feed here from Daryl.
Yep.
And it's asking, are the links on the www.tolearn.ca site good to use in the classroom, or do we need to check them as well? And I'll just go ahead and pull up that site. The ToLearn site it's actually a site sponsored by the Alberta government, as well as the ATA, Faculty of Education, and College of Alberta School Superintendents. It is a great place to go to find information about digital citizenship, digital safety, copyright, and so forth. Most of the links are internal. What I would do, though, is I would still watch for those icons. If you're going to reproduce something, especially imagery or video, with text, as long as you're referencing it, you don't copy the whole thing, the 10% rule still applies. But for reusing images, you always want to make sure that you're legitimately using the images, because some of these images, you can even tell by looking at these, are based on stock imagery. And so the authors of the site paid money for that stock imagery, so you don't want to just go ahead and duplicate it without their permission. In a lot of these cases too is if you simply go to the bottom of the screen, it does say who's responsible for that particular resource. And in this case, it even gives a phone number. So if you don't have that Creative Commons license for an image, but you would like to be able to use an image in your own purposes, even though it's not Creative Commons licensed, as long as the person that put it there waives that license and says you're allowed to use their content, you're always fine. But if it doesn't say Creative Commons on it, you have to assume that it is not Creative Commons. That being said, this is still a great site to go for researching and looking for digital citizenship resources and resources to look at or use in the school. I hope I answered that question for you there, Daryl. All right. So the last piece I think I'd like to just share with you momentarily, and just to close the presentation off for the evening. I would like to just say thank you to all of you that did give up your evening to come and watch the live piece. I'd also like to thank those, because I know that there are a few that have parent-teacher interviews tonight that are planning to watch the recording afterwards. I would like, if you could, for you guys to just pop onto this website, either j.mp/cc-q, or to scan the QR code on the right-hand side, and just give us some feedback. This is actually the first time we've used Google Hangouts on air for a PD, and so either tonight or over the next week or so, if you could pop onto this and give some feedback and just let us know what you thought and what you would like to see change for the next time we offer a professional development in this mode. So I am looking at the clock, and we are at 4:34. So I'm just going to say thank you. If Barb, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't, but if you have any questions, Doug is always open to those. So thank you very much.
So if you want to review anything we've talked about, you're more than welcome to come back to the site at any point from here on in, and the recording will be here. If you have some people you'd like to share this with, by all means, have them go through it as well. Feel free, if you're watching this on the recording, to give feedback as well, because I would like to know how this works for professional development. As a learning tool. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and say goodnight. And if you have any questions you'd like me to answer from here on in, please fire them my way. And thank you very much. And we're off.